श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अज्ञानाञ्जाह्नवीतीर्थं विद्यातीर्थं विवेकिनां सर्वेषां सुखदं तीर्थं भारतीतीर्थमाश्रये विद्याविनयसम्पन्नं वीतरागं विवेकिनं वन्दे वेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञं विदुषेखरभारतीम् नित्यानन्दैकरसं सच्चिन्मात्रं स्वयं ज्योतिः पुरुषोत्तममचमीशं वन्दे श्रीयादवादीशं. Dear friends, welcome to the fifth session of our PRABODHA SUDHAKARA discussions. So the primary goal of this text is self-knowledge or Atma Jnanam, and this text also talks about the two aids in achieving this Atma Jnanam, which is Vairagya, that is dispassion or the disinterest in the worldly objects, and also Bhakti, that is devotion towards Ishvara. Now, the first section of this text talks about the attainment of Vairagya, which is the disinterest or the lack of interest or dispassion towards the worldly objects. So, in order to attain this Vairagya, we saw in the last few discussions that shlokas, which helped us understand that to attain Vairagya, the ahankara and mamakara, that is the sense of identification of oneself with the body, and the notion of mineness, that is these things belong to me, those notions, the notions of belongings, those have to be removed from one's mind so that the disidentification with the body actually happens. So the Deha Abhimana can be removed. Only when the Deha Abhimana is removed, only then the Vairagya or the dispassion can be achieved. And only if Vairagya is there, one gets the focus in the mind and the one-pointedness in the mind to proceed towards Atma Jnanam, which is only the cause for moksha. So coming to this removal of identification with the body and the removal of this notion of mineness associated with the various objects, the Prakarana Grantha helps us to understand the nature of the body. Look at the body carefully. So inquire into the nature of the body. When you inquire into the nature of the body, it is possible for us to contrast it with the nature of the self, the nature of the Atman, as understood from the Shastra, as understood from the Upanishad. So by contrasting the I, that is the consciousness principle, the self, the real nature of the self, from the nature of the body, the distinguishing is possible. Once the distinguishing is possible, one can proceed and give up the identification with the body. So now the first chapter of this text is therefore talking about the inquiry into the nature of the body, that is the informing us of what are all the issues connected with attaining the body, what are all the issues connected after attaining the body, the difficulties after getting the body, what is the components of the body, how these components are not of the nature of the self, the nature of the Atman, and so on. So this is what we have been looking at. In our previous session, we actually looked at this sort of a flow chart, so which I just described. So by inquiry into nature of the body, one can remove the ahankara and mamakara. By removal of ahankara and mamakara, one can attain Vairagya. By attainment of Vairagya only, one can proceed towards the understanding of the real nature of the self. So for all this, the support, of course, is Shastra. So without Shastra, we cannot do this inquiry. So we need Shastra. At the same time, we need a very intellectual and one-pointed inquiry process is also needed. So intellect is also needed. So one's own buddhi is also needed. At the same time, the help of Shastra as Pramana, we have to use the Shastra as Pramana. We have to look at the Shastra as Pramana and understand it. So that is also required. In the previous session, we have actually looked at the difficulties associated with acquiring the human body itself, and the difficulties immediately after taking birth, then the difficulty in growing up, then what happens if instead of getting a human body, we get another body, why this human body is so precious and it should not be misused. All those verses we have looked at. In this session, we will be looking at the defects which are there present even within the human body, right? So on the one hand, getting the human body is a great boon and we should not miss this opportunity. On the other hand, if you say that getting the human body is itself the greatest thing, that is also incorrect, because the human body is given for a certain purpose, for achieving a higher goal, and the higher goal is to attain disidentification with the body and attain the freedom from birth and death itself. So we have to proceed and give up the identification with the human body also, right? Not only that, you have to know the importance of gaining the human body, but also you have to know the defects of the human body by which you can attain the disidentification. So this is what we will look at today's session. So we have seen the first 18 verses. Now we have to look at the 19th verse onwards. रुधिरास्थिधातु मज्जा मेदो मांसादि संहतिर्देहः स बहिस्त्वचा पिन्नद्धस्तस्मान्नो भक्ष्यते काकैः. So this verse and the next few verses onwards is going to talk about the components which are there present within the human body. These components are internal. The internal components is being focused upon. The external looks are how the external looks are sort of hiding the internal components which are there in the human body. That is what is being spoken about. So what are these components? Rudhira. Rudhira means what? Blood. Then asthi means what? Bones. Then dhatu. These are the elements which are there in the body. The body is composed of the dhatus. The Ayurveda has these three dhatus and so on. So these the components which are there. Then majja. So majja means you can say bone marrow. Then the medas. So what is this medas? The medas is the fat which is there in the human body. Then mamsadi. So mamsadi is the mamsa is the flesh which is there in the human body. And adi samhatir deha. So the other things, the body is a put together. The body is an assemblage of all these things. What are these things? Blood, and then you have these bones, and then you have these dhatus, then you have the majja, which is bone marrow, and then the fat, and then the flesh which is there, the muscles which are there, these things together, everything put together, this is what comprises of the human body. The human body is comprised of these things, right? Sabahis tvacha pinaddaha. So what does this mean? Sabahi. Sa means what? The human body. The dehaha. Bahihi tvacha pinaddaha. Tvacha means what? With the help of the skin. By the skin. Tvacha means tvak means the skin. It is covered. Pinaddaha means it is covered or wrapped by using the skin on the external side. So bahihi. Tasma no bhakshyate kakahi. So now here comes the introspection towards this body. Tasma no bhakshyate kakahi. So what here Acharya is saying is that if suppose the skin is not covering the human body, then what would have happened? You imagine for some time. So why is this imagination important? This imagination is important because the person, the individual, that is we ourselves, have a certain notion of our body as being something which is beautiful, something which is, nice to look at. Our own body, with respect to our own body, we think of ourselves as being, nice. We think of ourselves as being beautiful. We think of ourselves as being handsome and so on. And we pride ourselves. So we may pride ourselves looking at the color of our skin, looking at these, the structure of our body, looking at how tall or how, well built we are. So all these things from the external side we are looking at, and we imagine that these things are, these things are something which we really want, or we really desire, or which brings us happiness, right? This is with respect to our body. The same attitude is there with respect to the bodies of other people. So when you look at other people, you are looking at primarily the bodies of other people. So you are not directly perceiving the minds of other people. You look at the body of other people, the physical structure of other people. Then there is a certain sense of attraction, or there is a certain sense of pleasure when the other person is looking beautiful, when the other person is looking handsome, and so on. Now this handsome or beautiful, these are all with respect to what? The structure of the body, then the color of the skin, and how nice it is, and so on. Now imagine for a minute that suppose instead of this structure, the whatever the components of the body are, these are visible to us externally also. There is no skin, so they are visible to us externally also. What would it look like? What would its state be? This is what the imagination Acharya is bringing us. So if this happens, then what will happen? First of all, it is going to emanate a very bad smell. So there is going to be a bad smell associated with it. These components which are there present in the body, blood, bones, flesh, fat, and so on, these are also the food for other jantus. So other pashu pakshi which are there, the other animals and birds which are there, if you present to them in a piece of flesh without being covered by a living piece of skin, then this flesh becomes a matter of um, uh, food for them. So they are seeking for this flesh. They are seeking for this, they may be seeking for this food. So here Acharya is talking about the kaka. So what is this thing? The kakaihi. Kakaihi means the crows are going to have this particular exposed components of the body as their food if these components of the body are not covered by the human skin. That will be the state of the body. So what is there in this body to be desirous about? What is there in this body to feel beautiful about? There is only a piece of skin which is covering these, uh, various components which are only food for other creatures. So essentially, our body is food for other creatures. Our body is food for nature. So having this body is not some kind of a glorious thing by itself, because it is nothing but a part of nature. It is nothing but food for other elements in nature, including the living organisms, including the natural elements, and so on. So having this kind of body is not a glory by itself. So therefore, we have to develop a disidentification with this body. There is no point in having an identification with this body, which is composed of these perishing entities, which is composed of these perishing components, which is composed of these components, which are only food for the rest of the natural, creatures and elements. So that is the message. So by contemplating on this, we get the disidentification. We have to get the disidentification from the body. That is the message. Let us go on. So to the next verse. नासाग्राद् वदनाद्वा कफं मलं पायुतो विसृजन् स्वयमेवैति जुगुप्सामन्तः prasritam chano ved. Peculiarity of the human being, peculiarity which is present in our own mind is being spoken about here. What is this peculiarity? The human being, again, with respect to one's own body, does not realize certain defects, certain problems associated with it, because of the very natural idea in the human being's mind, in our mind, that our bodies will not have any ugly things. Our body will not have any ugly things because I am not an ugly person. I am not. I always want to look at myself as a beautiful entity. I always want to be a pleasing entity to myself. And since I have been attached with the body, I also think everything about the body is very pleasing. Everything about the body is very nice. Everything about the body is very beautiful. But that is not the case. How do you know that is not the case? Some example is being given here. If by chance something which is produced within the body comes out, then what is our attitude towards that? That is what is being presented. So it is a peculiar human nature. It's not peculiar to specific human beings. It is peculiar to all human beings. Something common, some common property across all samsari, all the human beings who are ignorant about their own true nature, that is being talked about here. What is this message here? Nasagrad vadanadva kapham phalam payuto visrijan. So nasagrad va vadanadva kapham. Kapham means the phlegm which is produced within that respiratory system. You can say the respiratory tract and so on. So that phlegm, when it comes out via the nose, that is in asagradva, via the nose, or vadanadva, via the mouth. Suppose you are coughing, suppose you are sneezing, and this mucus or this phlegm comes out, then what is your attitude towards that? After it comes out, immediately you want to clean it up. You don't feel that since it came out of the body, since it came out of my own body, so therefore it must be beautiful. While it is in the body, there is no thinking about it that it is something ugly which is present in my body. But the moment it comes out of the body, then immediately the person feels a certain disgust towards it. So that is being talked about. Swayameva iti jugutsam. Swayameva iti jugupsam means what? Swayameva jugupsam eti. Swayameva means by, he himself, the person who from whom the phlegm has come out, that person himself, jugupsam eti, that person himself feels a sense of disgust. That person, in his mind, in that person's mind, the disgust is generated towards something which came out of his own body. What other thing? The very natural thing is the fecal matter which comes out, that is also talked about here. Payito malam va visarjan. So from the excretory organ, when the fecal matter comes out, what is the feeling which is the person has towards that? Absolute disgust. After it is ejected from the body, after the phlegm passes out from the body, after the excreta is released out of the body, then the attitude towards it, you imagine in your own mind how, what is that disgust you feel towards yourself, what is that disgust you feel yourself towards those things. Antaha prasritam chano veti. So that feeling of disgust, that person does not realize, because when these things are within the body, antaha prasritam chano no veti means what? That person does not understand, that person does not realize, that person does not know. What does he not know? The same. What does he not realize? The same sense of disgust is not there. Why is it not there when the things are there? The same kapam, the same mala, the same kapha is there, the same phlegm, the same fecal matter is there within the body itself. That realization does not come, the disgust does not come. One still thinks everything within the body is so nice, and it has a good smell, and there is no problem, and everything is working absolutely beautifully, and there is a natural sense of belonging with the body. If there is an ugly thing, there will be no natural sense of belonging. If you go to a place, a new place, and the new place is very, very ugly and very dusty and very dirty and very filthy, you don't feel a sense of belonging towards it. But at the same time, if it is your own body, even though these things are present, even though these filthy things are present in the body, even though these ugly things are present within the body, even though these problematic which we feel disgust towards when they are ejected out, such things are there within the body, there is no feeling of disgust towards the body. Why is that? You think about it. You try to remember it. So what is the message here? By trying to remember it, what is the idea? The idea is that the same sense of disgust which you feel when these things are ejected out from the body, when these phlegm and excreta are coming, after coming out of the body, whatever sense of disgust you feel, the same sense of disgust you should also feel. You should also think within yourself that this body itself is not, is not something which is beautiful. It is not something which you should crave for. It is not something which you should desire for. It is something which you have to use and overcome. It is something which you have to use properly, and after using it properly, you have to give up the identification with it also. So giving up the identification with it is the goal of life. Giving up the identification with the human body is the goal of attaining human body. You can say it in that way also. So that is the message which is being conveyed here. नासाग्रहत् वदनाद्वा कफं मलं पायितो विसर्जन् स्वयमेवैति जुगुप्सामन्तः प्रसृतं च नो वेत्ति. Let us go to the next verse. पति पतितमस्थि दृष्ट्वा स्पर्शभयाद् अन्यमार्गतो याति नोपश्यति निजदेहं चास्ति सहस्रावृतं परितः. So another such examples, very similar to the previous one, is given here. So what is this example here? Now the person, we ourselves, we have the various bone structure within the body. There is a whole lot of bones within the body. Several bones are there within the body, forming the skeletal structure which is there. Now the skeletal structure gives us the support. It definitely has some utility, no doubt about it. But what happens if the person finds a bone, some bone, whether it can be human bone or some other bone also, outside the body on the street? What happens? Whether we will be interested to go towards it. Oh, such bones are there within my body also. So since it is there, my body also, it is so pure and it is so beautiful. So why not I take it and keep it with myself as a collectible. I will look at it every day and feel pleasure that I have this bone outside also, inside also. Now, will this be your attitude towards a bone which you see on the street? Absolutely not, right? When we see a bone on the street, our attitude towards this is towards that bone will be something which is only can be described as disgust. You want to go away from it. You want to step in such a way that you don't step on it. You want to walk in such a way that you don't go towards it. You don't go near it. You go somewhat separated, somewhat away from it. And you also tell other people that please go away from it. Don't go near it. There is a bone there, right? So that is what is being spoken about here. So patitam asthi drushtva. So what is the asthi means what? The bone. Um, Patitam asti drushtva. So that bone being a bone which is fallen on the street. Pati patitam. So bone which is fallen. Pati means on the street. In the street, and patitam means to fallen. Drushtva. By looking at the bone which is fallen on the street, sparsha bhayad anyamargato yati. This person, that person means us only. Here the Acharya is talking about the normal human being. Normal human being is us. Sadhaka, we have to think of ourselves as a normal human being and imagine our mental state when you go and look at a bone on the street. What is it? Sparsha bhayat. Because of the fear of touching the bone, anya margato yati. You are going in a way which is different. You take a different street, you take a different route. You don't go along the same way. You don't go near that bone. Why you don't go near that bone? Because you think that that object is something which is worthy of only disgust. You think that that object is something which is worthy of uh, keeping away from. It is unworthy of going towards. It is unworthy of touching. So therefore, you want to keep away from it. Whereas the same bone, the same bone means what? Not the same which is outside, but the same idea, the same thing which is there outside, the same uh, bones which are there, those are also present within the human body, but that person does not feel the sense of disgust or the sense of this body is having all these bones. I should go in another way because this body is having all these bones. I should not appreciate my body because it is, it is beautiful or anything. Because all these ugliness which I see outside, all these objects of disgust which I see outside, I see inside me also. So if I see them inside me also, what is the attitude I should have about this? That is the idea. So no pashyati nijadeham cha asti sahasravritam paritah. Asti sahasravritam paritah nijadeham no pashyati. The sahasravritam asti. So the thousands of bones here, thousands of bone pieces. Thousands is just the sahasra is just a word here. It is just telling you that there are many bones which are present within the human body, which are spread over all across the human body. Nijadeha means one's own body. It is present. Sahasravritam paritaha means what? It is present everywhere across one's own body. No pashyati. That person is not seeing it. Person is not seeing, he may think, when he thinks about it, he may even be aware of one's own the bones which are there within the body. But that feeling that this body is having these things which you are invoking disgust when seen outside, that feeling is not coming to the person. That feeling is not coming to us. So it also has to come to us. That is the idea. So the body is composed of the same kind of the disgust inducing things which are present outside. It is just that it is covered. It is just that it is having life at this point. It is just that it is supporting us at this point. So therefore the feeling of disgust doesn't arise towards that. But the Vedanta sadhaka, what is his point of view? The Vedanta sadhaka's point of view is that I have to use this body to overcome my attachment towards the body and to proceed towards moksha, which is freedom from birth itself. It's freedom from body itself. So if I want to get freed from the body, there is no point in being attached to the body. So therefore, I have to slowly remove my attachment. If I have to remove my attachment, then I have to not appreciate everything is that is there about the body. I have to maintain the even keel, the even frame of mind towards the body. Currently, what is my problem? Currently, my problem is I think body is always good. Human body means it will always be, it is always something which I desire. It is always something which I want. I am very afraid to give it up. I am very afraid to give it up. At any point of time, if you ask anybody, in general, saying, if any point of time, if you ask anybody, uh, now you have become old. Let us say you are asking an old person, now you have become old. Are you ready to give up your body? The person will say, suppose the person is very much suffering, then the person will say, yes, I am ready to give up the body. But if you present another option, okay, I understand you are suffering, that is why you want to give up the body. Let us say I will remove your suffering, you will become young again. You will become 30 years old again or 20 years old again. Are you ready to keep your body to yourself and are you ready to enjoy more in this world? Then most people will say yes. So this notion of maintaining this understanding that body is something which is always problematic. Fundamentally, it is problematic because it is the root cause of the samsara. That feeling is not there with majority. That feeling is not there with most of the people. That feeling is what Shastra is trying to bring into the Vedanta sadhaka. Body means problem, sir. Body means suffering. So if you want to get rid of suffering, then don't be attached to the body. Get rid of the body by knowledge. Get rid of the body by proceeding towards moksha, not by any other method. Hmm. Shastra, the law of karma is always powerful. You cannot escape it. So if you try to get rid of the body by any other means, you will get another body. So it is not like that. What you have to do is remove your attachment from the body and know your true nature. That is what we want to do. Now this is the verse. So pati patitam asti drishtva sparsha bhayad anya margato yati no pashyati nija deham chasti sahasravatam paritaha. So be aware that your body is composed of those things which are the same kind of things which invoke disgust when they are seen outside. So therefore maintain a sense of detachment from the body. This next verse. So more hypocrisy, more peculiarities of the human behavior is being talked about. केशवाधि नकराग्रादिदम् अन्तःपूति गन्धसम्पूर्णं बहिरपि चागरु चन्दन कर्पूराद्यैर्विलेपयति. What does this say? This is talking about a person who is decorating or who is, putting some, applying some scents on to oneself. What is the scent? Sorry. What are those scents? What are those scents? SCENTS. What are those scents which is being talked about here? Agaru, Chandana, Karpura, Adyaihi. So agaru, as you know, agarbatti, that kind of incense. Then chandana, the sandal. Then karpura, the camphor. Mixed with all of these things, the person is taking and applying some paste. So these are the things which our ancients used to apply on their body. Nowadays, if you want to add the modern day scents also, you can add. You can say musk you are adding in your body or some kind of scents that you buy in the shop. Those people are adding all these things we apply on ourselves to gain some good feeling about ourselves, right? That is one thing. And also when you go in public, then you want to present yourself as somebody who is having a good order. No bad order is coming, only pleasant order is coming, and and others are feeling that pleasant order. So when other people also apply, then you feel pleasant order when you look at their body. So everything is this makeup. The word makeup itself signifies that something is not there by itself, but that is being created via artificial means. So what is not there by itself here? The good sense, the good smell is not there by itself. So what is there instead? If you look inside, you remove the skin. Just remove the skin in your own mind and look at what is there inside. Then you will see that uh, there is only bad smell. And with the skin also, there is by nature, if you don't clean this body, you will get only bad smell. So everywhere when you smell close the human body, by its own nature, only bad smell arises from it. It is not giving any fragrance or anything. The external fragrances only give some good fragrance. By its own nature, the body does not automatically generate some kind of good fragrance. So the idea is with such artificial fragrances, you want to create a certain sense of good feeling, good pleasure of being associated with the body. Don't do that. The point is not to apply the fragrance or not apply the fragrance or anything like that. Reflect on your own thinking about the human body. Reflect on your own thinking about yourself. What is it that you think of the human body as? Do you think of it as something which is to be maintained for the purpose of moksha, or do you think of it as something which is to be maintained for the purpose of sadhana, or do you think of it as something which is to be maintained for the purpose of show off to others, for the purpose of feeling good about yourself? Do you want to maintain your body for enjoying? Do you want to maintain your body for being comfortable? Do you want to maintain your body for showing your beauty to others? Do you want to maintain your body for having all the pleasures and comforts in life? For this purpose, do you want? For the Artha Kama Dharma, you want the body to be maintained, or for Moksha, do you want the body to be maintained? If you want the body to be maintained for moksha, which is appropriate for Vedanta sadhaka, then there is no need for these external fragrances. There is no need for this kind of uh, uh, things which bring, which are unnatural, which are not automatic, which are not inherent in the body. These external things you need not bring in and try to apply on the body and make it something which is pleasant or attractive. What is the idea here? Keshavadhi nakaragrat idam antahputi gandha sampurnam. Idam means what? Idam shariram. This sharira, this body, Keshavadhi nakaragrat. So uh, from the nails up to the head, or from the head up to the nails, everywhere it is only antahputi gandha sampurnam. It is only having bad smell within itself. So if you just peel the skin and look, then bad smells. Even if you see, so antah puti gandha sampurnama, puti gandha means what? The bad smells are there. Sampurnam, it is completely filled with only bad smell. Antaha, so it is inside, internally, it is filled with only bad smells. So this beauty, they say it is only skin deep. Only skin deep beauty is there with respect to the body. The moment you go near, the moment you look inside, it is all things which are something which you don't want, to see outside, which you don't want to smell outside, which you don't want to touch outside. All the sense organs which are there, with all those sense organs, you never want to approach flesh. You never want to approach bones. You never want to approach the fat. You never want to approach bone marrow. You don't want to smell bone marrow. You don't want to smell flesh. You don't want to touch flesh. You don't want to, see bones. All the sense organs you want to avoid when it comes to seeing these internal components of the body. But the moment it is alive and put within a skin, then it becomes something which is generating pleasure. Then it becomes something which becomes attractive to the mind. So reflect on this. Reflect on the superficiality of your own thinking. Make your thinking a little bit deeper. Then there is a possibility to attain detachment from the body. This is the idea. So Bahirapi cha agaru chandana karpuradehi vilepayati. So vilepayati means what? You apply. Agaru chandana karpuradehi. So these incense and sandal and karpura, etc., we apply on the body. Bahirapi. So even though this entire body is filled with bad smell, externally to appear beautiful, externally to be pleasing to others, and pleasing to oneself also, pleasing to our own sense organ also, we apply all these things. Look at the hypocrisy of thinking, look at the superficiality and grow out of it. That is the idea. Let us move on to the next verse. Yatnadasya pidhatte swabhavika dosha sanghatam aupadhika guna nivaham prakashayan shlaghyate mudaha. Yatnadasya pidhatte swabhavika dosha sanghatam means what? Swabhavika dosha sanghatam asya swabhavika dosha sanghatam yatnad pidhatte. Pidhatte means to cover or to hide. You can say here in this context we can say hide. Yatnad, what does this person hide? By what does he hide? By lot of efforts. So what are the efforts we have seen before? By applying the things, by applying all these incense, etc., the person hides the swabhavika dosha sanghata. This body which is composed of all the defects, all kinds of defects, all kinds of disgusting things, the person tries to hide with lot of effort. Yatnad, lot of effort the person tries to hide or cover. Upadhika guna nivaham prakashayan shlagyate mudaha. So the person who is doing this, who is putting lot of effort in covering the very natural defects which are automatically present in the body. It is very part and parcel of the body. These defects are those are being hidden, and the guna, that is the positive attributes, the beautiful attributes which are not natural, which are artificially created, upadhika, which are only superimposed on the body, coming externally. Those are, so the collection of these things, the collection of these superficial, external and superimposed guna, superimposed positive things, superimposed smells, external smells, superimposed beauty, external beauty, which are not inherently there within the body, as there's just the body structure itself doesn't have it. Only externally it is there. Only you have to bring it from outside, and then you have to artificially create it and bring it. Those kind of things the Mudaha tries to promote. Those kind of, he is displaying those things. The stupid fellow displays those things and becomes happy because of the display of those things, becomes happy by showing off these things, not only to himself, but by making others pleased by his external looks. The person becomes happy. This idea. So when you say the Mudaha means what? The person who is the spiritual fool. The spiritual, the person is a fool, not in the worldly terms. In the worldly terms, he may be very rich. In the worldly terms, she may be very beautiful. In the worldly terms, she may be very great businesswoman, a great skilled person, whatever it may be. But when it comes to the spiritual and it comes to the Vedantic life, that person we consider it to be only a fool. Why a person is considered to be a fool? Because the idea here is that if you consider yourself as the body, then you are nothing but a ignorant person. Fool means ignorant person. Fool, a polite word for ignorant, polite word for fool or stupid or idiot would be an ignorant person. So who is ignorant? The person who is ignorant of his own nature. There is a primal ignorance. You may know about so many things in the world. You may be very intelligent with respect to worldly matters, but when you don't know about your own nature, when you confuse your nature with the nature of the body, when you think you are the body, then that is the primal ignorance which is there. Such a primally ignorant person here is called Mudaha. So what does this Mudaha do? He promotes or he displays and he attains happiness through the display of these external, superficial, superimposed guna, superimposed positive attributes, whereas the disgusting attributes, the defective attributes, the which are natural to the body, with lot of effort, that person hides, that person does not display, that person makes a lot of effort to cover those things. So if you are like that, if we are like that, if I am like that, then I have to correct myself. So for the purpose of correcting myself, Shastra will scold like this. The Guru has to tell some powerful words like this. By giving the importance to whatever is being talked about here, by taking the teaching from this, what is that I have to reflect? I should not be the spiritually ignorant person. I should not be the foolish person. I should be a person who is smart, intelligent with respect to the Vedanta Shastra, with respect to Vedanta Sadhana. So therefore, what does a smart Vedantic student like ourselves should do? We have to gain the discrimination between the self and the body. You have to look at the defects of the body as the nature of the body. Don't try to hide it unnecessarily. Don't try to imagine that these things are going away, these defects are not present. Don't try to cover it up. Realize that these defects are there inherently within the body and come out of attachment towards the body. That is the idea. Now let us proceed to the next verse. Kshatamutpannam dehe yedina prakshalyate tridinam tatrotpatanti bhavaha krimayo durgandha sankirnaha. So what does this mean? Kshatamutpannam. What does it mean? When the body is affected by some wounds or some kinds of uh, afflictions, you can say some kinds of wounds appear in the body. Kshata means some wounds, you can say, or some affliction which appears on the skin. When these wounds appear, suppose that person is not taking bath for 3 days. Yadina prakshalyate tridinam tatrotpatanti bhavaha krimayo Durgandha Sankiranaha. So then what happens in these in this body which has not taken bath, even if the wounds are not there, it is very smelly. Now the wounds are there in the body, the open flesh is there in the body, and such a person is not cleaning up. Such a person is not cleaning up for a matter of days. Then what happens? Then in the place where these wounds are there, what happens? Bahava Krimaya Durgandha Sankiranaha. So Durgandha Sankiranaha Krimayaha. So many germs appear from these wounds which are emanating a very bad smell. Tatra utpatanti. So from these wounds itself, tatra, wherever these wounds are, from the place, so the utpatanti means what? From that place they are emerging out. Bahavaha, many such germs, many such small, what we say, maggots appear, the insects appear in those places which are emanating a very bad smell. Such is the nature of this body. Such is the very flimsy nature of this body. This body is so, you have to keep on maintaining. Every day you have to take bath, otherwise you start emanating bad smell. Every day you have to make sure the things are clean. Otherwise you start emanating bad smell. Every day you have to get rid of your the physical dirt which accumulates within the body, the fecal matter, etc. Everything has to be, the waste excreta has to be excreted out every day. Otherwise, more problems are created. So look at the flimsy and look at the very delicate and look at the very tremendous effort which is needed for maintaining this body in a sort of at least bearable state. Maintain the body in a bearable state, you have to put lot of effort. That is being talked about here. So whereas the Atman, if you look at the Shastra is telling us Atman is ever pure. What about this body? This body is never pure. You have to keep on trying to purify it, and that purification is only very temporal, very minimal purification only possible. The internally the things which are there which naturally emanate bad smells, that cannot be taken away. Only external bad smell you can reduce, that too by lot of effort, that too very temporarily. Right? So lot of effort is required to maintain this body, even some 20 percentage pure, even 10 percentage purity if it has to come, then you have to put a lot of effort. Whereas the Atman, the Shastra is saying it is ever pure. So the body and Atman are two different things. You are the self, you are the Atman, you are not the body. So you have to realize that. So with this, we will complete, with this verse, we will complete today's session. In the next session, we will we'll look at the rest of the verses which are there in the Dehaninda Prakaranam and complete that. In the Dehaninda Prakaranam, the idea is that the body's defects are being pointed out so as to gain a certain sense of disidentification with the body so that the Vairagya can come. That is the goal which we want to proceed towards. With this, we will conclude today's session. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.